Hello Legionnaires, this is Max Leal from Legion of Myth, and today I'm going to give you the last of the primary disciplines in the 4th edition Earthdawn role-playing game, the Elementalist. If you had asked me when I started this series if the Elementalist would be the last discipline I'd record, I would have scoffed at the idea. I wanted the Thief to be the last one because I do not like the 4th edition Thief at all. Like all things in life, stuff happens, and here we are, finishing up with the Elementalist. Talking about the Thief, I cannot believe I completely cut out the notes regarding the Thief and Scout's ability to craft poison. For the Thief, the notebook is right here, and the notes never made it into the script. For the Scout, it was honestly a complete oversight on my part. My sincerest apologies for those omissions, as I do believe craft poison is an important aspect even in a general overview of those two disciplines. Alright, back to the Elementalist. If you have not watched the previous discipline videos, please be sure to check them all out, especially the one titled Earthdawn Disciplines and Adepts, an Overview, as it explains the nuances of what it means to be an adept who follows a discipline in the Earthdawn role-playing game. As always, a link to that video will be posted in the description below. If you have enjoyed this Earthdawn content, or if you desire other anime, comics, and gaming-related news and reviews, please mash that like button and be sure to subscribe to the Legion of Myth channel. Ring that bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode, and share this video with your Earthdawn friends. As always, I will be discussing the Elementalist discipline primarily in terms of 4th edition Earthdawn, as it is the most recent version of the game and thus the most appropriate version to discuss. And before we get into the Elementalist, this is my fifth recording of this. I have never recorded 5 times before. The worst was twice. It's been a comedy of errors. Apparently they don't want me to end this series because I've had 2 lights go out. I said Sky Raider up there for 2 of the recordings, and I'm tired. And the second part of this video was actually recorded, like, looking at my clock now, about 5 hours ago. So part 2 is recorded long before this. Anyway, let's start with the background and worldview of the Elementalist discipline. An Elementalist's most important function is to form a living bridge between the world of name-givers and the realm of elemental spirits that most name-givers never see. The Elementalist has the difficult job of maintaining an emotional and intellectual distance from and between these two worlds to ensure they remain in balance. When compared to the other magician disciplines, the Elementalist is a discipline of subtleties. Elementalists are private name-givers and plain speakers. Very few of them care to spend time and effort on flowery phrasing and speak with a frankness and openness other people may find blunt, rude, or refreshingly honest. Everything in this world is made up of the 5 core elements: air, earth, fire, water, and wood. Everything. You, for example, from an elementalist's perspective, have water in your blood, earth in your bones, air in your lungs, fire in your heart, and wood in your spine. When an elementalist sees the world, he sees the elements in action. When he sniffs a flower, he watches how the air moves the pollen. When he gazes at a rock formation, he contemplates the patterns of the stone's growth over the years. Elementalists strive to strip away the eyewash to get to the true nature of a thing. They see the core truth, the basic elements in all things. Elementalists maintain the balance between the elements of the world, as the true nature of reality can warp if the balance is lost and they move too far in any one direction. Whenever an Elementalist adept favors weaving the spells of one element or stops weaving one element's spells, the balance within his own spirit goes out of alignment. As an example, an Elementalist should never agree to an air elemental spirit's demand that he not cast earth spells for a year and a day. Doing so will find the Elementalist adept in trouble. Specialists are somewhat of an exception to this, but we will talk about them later. Each element has its own nature, which the Elementalist must know if he is to use the magic at all. When an Elementalist casts Plant Talk, he knows the plant is made of wood and air is used for speech. When casting earth spells, the Elementalist's mind must be as implacable and unchanging as earth and stone while weaving the element through his body. Change intent while weaving earth spells, and the spell may sift away like dust. Cast an air spell is like holding a conversation. You have to know exactly what you want to say, while also listening carefully in order to respond to what you hear. If you try to grab hold of air and force it, shout at it if you will, you'll lose the threads of the spell. Fire is the wild, intoxicating energy of passion, hunger, and truth revealed. Fire spells are not for the weak-willed. You must be single-minded and passionate about what you want, else the fire will escape and burn whomever is in its path. Water is a paradox, always changing, always the same. Work from the heart and open yourself to the water flowing through your veins. Flow with whatever emotions or thoughts fill your empty self with each casting. When casting wood spells, the adept must remember growth and the goodness of change. An adept who has grown too comfortable with unchanging patterns of thought and action soon loses his touch for casting spells relying on the element of wood. Rituals play a particularly important role in the Elementalist discipline. Rituals are a private and personal aspect of any Elementalist's existence. Only ritual can open eyes and minds, and only continued practice of ritual allows Elementalists to maintain their unique ability to touch the realm of spirits. To keep in touch with the elements and elemental spirits, Elementalists must regularly perform rituals that allow them to make those connections. Rituals are the lens that allow them to shift their vision from one world to the other. Some quick comments on the nature of elemental spirits. Earth, air, fire, water, and wood spirits are the most common, but there are also flower spirits, mud spirits, earth spirits, and many, many more. Elemental spirits want Elementalist adepts to increase their particular element, as the amount of a given element in existence gives the spirit of that element more power. The reality elementals understand and the reality name givers understand are two different places. This can make communication and understanding difficult. An Elementalist is taught to always respect the spirits, no matter how they act in return. Elemental spirits are extraordinarily independent beings who feel superior to name givers. While it is true that name givers are not superior to elementals, simply by being more complex beings, it is also not true that elemental spirits are superior due to their simplicity. Just know even a hint of arrogance makes these proud beings angry. They have a sense of personal honor touchier than a troll's. Each type of element and each elemental spirit has its own peculiarities. Most elemental spirits want to aid elementalists in their magical workings because the elementalist effort often extends the spirit's influence in the world of name givers. Now, getting the attention of earth elemental spirit requires deep meditation because these beings communicate at the root of our own awareness. They think slowly. Urgent needs are hard to convey to them. Not surprisingly, obsidian have an affinity for earth elementals. Air spirits are intelligent but flighty. 1 minute air spirits love you like a brother, the next they think you're about to betray them. Air spirits often enjoy strange jokes and like to practice them on their elementalist friends. Windlings, of course, are the ones with the most affinity for air elementals. Fire spirits are almost as changeable as air spirits, but they are less suspicious. Meeting one fire spirit is not like meeting another. Fire elementals see farther and faster than other spirits and will typically allow or deny an elementalist's requests more quickly than other spirits. Because they see farther and faster than others, there is no point in even trying to lie to one. spirits of water are less like each other than any other spirit, even fire. You never know what sort of creature you'll meet when you come across one. On the average, water elemental spirits are confident and bargain more shrewdly than spirits of other elements. Water elementals seem to love the Scrang for obvious reasons. Wood spirits vary from tree to tree. For example, an oak spirit is a spirit of solid strength. Wood elemental spirits are the closest to the world of name givers and can be similar to talking to, say, an elf, a human, or Scrang. Wood spirits drive the hardest bargains, and it can be nearly impossible to receive assistance from them without promising to perform a service. Wood spirits prefer working with elves. Orichalcum symbolizes the world in perfect balance, and orichalcum spirits, if they even exist, are tremendously powerful and rarely communicate with name givers. Alright, so what does it mean to be the Elementalist player? What should you expect if you decide to play the Elementalist discipline? Let's start off by talking about the talents. Like the other magician disciplines, a large number of discipline talents are taken up by their need to learn, store, and cast spells. Woodskin is the discipline talent of note at first circle. With this talent, the Elementalist uses up a recovery test and raises his health rating. At second circle, the Elementalist receives Fire Heal, where the adept sits in a bonfire and either heals or suffers damage. I hope you have a good rapport with those fire elementals. The third circle, the Elemental Tongues talent, allows the Elementalist adept to learn the language of elemental spirits. Fourth circle's Elemental Hold talent allows the Elementalist to use his force of will to stop an elemental spirit in his tracks. At fifth circle, the Elementalist gets the ability of Fire and Ice, with which he can create a small flame between his thumb and forefinger, or freeze a small amount of water by touching it. Along with this, he gains the Summon Elemental Spirit talent, which does exactly as its name implies. See page 365 of the Player's Guide to read more about summoning. Sixth circle gives the Elementalist Will Force, while seventh circle provides Earthskin, which helps protect against mystic attacks, and closing out the Journeyman circles Hold Thread at 8th circle. Becoming a Warden at 9th circle gives the Elementalist the Earth and Wind ability. With this ability, the Elementalist can increase the mystic defense of allies or purify an area of noxious fumes. The Thunderous Resolve talent allows the adept to throw off and resist the effects of ongoing spells. Elemental Mastery at 10th circle improves spells with the Elemental keyword. Vine Armor enhances the Woodskin talent of an 11th circle Elementalist, plus adds a bonus to Mystic Armor for good measure. And at 12th circle, the Elementalist receives Concise Casting. Upon becoming a master of the Elementalist discipline, at 13th circle, the adept gains the Elemental Form ability. This ability allows the adept to merge his spirit with one of the 5 elements. This merging improves every aspect of spellcasting when using spells of the element with which he merged. This does, however, cut the adept off from spells of the opposite element while in the merged state. The Elemental Walk talent allows the Elementalist to take short strolls within the elemental plane of fire, or breathe poisonous air, or simply exist within a particular element. Stone Skin at 14th circle upgrades the Earth Skin talent to also add a bonus to physical armor, rounding out the master circles with the Splice Weave talent at circle 15. Whew, alright. With the exception of maybe a Void Blow, the talent options for the Elementalist are diverse and make elemental sense. Air Speaking, Wilderness Survival, Cold Purify, Fire Blood, and so forth all retain the elemental theme while allowing you, the player, to pretty much create the type of elemental magician you want. I can't talk about every spell in the Player's Guide, but for my money, the Elementalist has the best assortment of support spells of the 4 magician disciplines. In addition, some spells even have different effects based on the elemental choice. Don't mistake the Elementalist for a combat discipline. While it probably has a wider range of combat-specific spells, this is not an AD&D invoke or evoke. Direct damage output is meaningful, but not extraordinary. Air armor increases physical armor. Heat food increases the effectiveness of recovery tests. Flame weapon adds damage. Resist element provides both mystic and physical armor bonuses to an element. Shelter provides a crude but effective shelter that lasts 10 hours. Even the go-to damage spell, Earth Darts, degrades physical armor, which your combat disciplines will love. Do you know what all of those spells have in common? They are all first circle spells you can have right from the start, and it's not even the complete list of first circle spells. Lightning Bolt, Ice Mason Chain, Winds of Deflection, Fireball, Metal Wings, and Death Rain, that is awesome sounding, are just a few of the spells an Elementalist can receive as he rises through the circles. Similar to the Nethermancer's aspect spells, the signature spells for the Elementalist are its mantle spells. The various mantle spells summon a spirit and temporarily binds it to a willing target. This binding provides a bonus to the target for some interesting situations, such as hunting a living being. I like the idea of binding an elemental spirit to a name giver, and I hope they come up with more mantle spells in the future product. Because of the changes to the crafting and enchanting systems over the editions of Earthdawn, I intentionally didn't discuss what used to be called the Enchanter element, Elementalist. I really like the way 4th edition Earthdawn generally handles enchanting and enchanting talent knacks across the Elementalist, Nethermancer, Scout, Thief, Weaponsmith, and Wizard disciplines. With that said, the Elementalist discipline can potentially do more with enchanting and enchanting talent knacks than any other discipline. At 4th circle, the Elementalist can handle element, which allows the Elementalist to incorporate true elements into magic items. Also, the Elementalist can craft common magic items such as dry boots and heatstone. At 5th circle, the craft true pattern talent knack is used to create thread items. The 6th circle Elementalist can learn to incorporate bound spirit, which allows the Elementalist to incorporate spirits into magic items. Hopefully they're willing. If not, well. At 8th circle, the talent knack Design Enchanting Pattern allows the Elementalist to design and modify enchanting patterns to make enchanting an item easier. Finally, at 9th circle, Create Orichalcum allows the Elementalist to create Orichalcum from other true elements. Also at 9th circle, the Elementalist can spend Karma when designing or crafting an item. The final thing I'd like to talk about before moving on is in regard to Orichalcum tithes. An Elementalist can tithe to a particular elemental spirit by placing an Orichalcum coin within the element in question, throwing the coin off a cliff, burying it in the earth, etc. The tithe can be used to remove a serious or severe talent crisis, as it may constitute a deed of atonement. The tithe also can be used to grant the Elementalist a +1 step bonus to spellcasting tests when casting spells of that element. The bonus lasts for 1 month per coin tithe. In Earthdawn, half magic represents discipline, pertinent knowledge and skills a character knows or can perform simply by being an adept of the discipline. Elementalists can use half magic for knowledge of nature, the elements, uses of elemental magic, and other magical rituals. The Elementalist also uses half magic to detect elemental spirits within 30 yards. With such power and ability comes, it comes with some rules. If you remember from my overview video, disciplines are not character classes, professions, or archetypes. They are lifestyles. And while the personal vision of each Elementalist adept may differ, there are some foundations that must remain. Elementalist adepts must remain in tune with the elements, respect nature in all its form, and place the balance of elements before other considerations when they act. Even specialists who favor one element over the others do so without threatening that balance. An Elementalist who does not acknowledge the importance of each of the elements in his life, such as meditating to the rhythms of rain, adding fuel to a fire and staring into its depths and so on, or who does not regularly talk to elemental spirits, risks losing touch with the elemental balance and suffering a talent crisis. Purposely harming elemental balance, overusing or underusing a particular element, or polluting or harming a given element can also bring on a talent crisis. If appropriate, the talent crisis may only affect talents and spells for the particular element offended. Alright, variations on a theme for the Elementalist. Elementalists who openly acknowledge favoritism toward one certain element don't suffer for it as mainstream traditional Elementalists do. However, these specialists do lose a certain amount of ability when working with elements other than their chosen preference. Elementalists who specialize in one particular element tend to have personality quirks similar to those of the elemental spirit they favor. Finally, specialist elements receive a +2 bonus to spellcasting and elementalism, threadweaving, when used to cast spells of their favorite element. At the same time, they also suffer a -2 penalty when used to cast spells of other elements. To be very clear here, the specialist variation comes from 1st edition Earthdawn. While I believe it works within the 4th edition framework, it is up to you and your game master to decide if the specialist is allowable at your table. What about multidisciplining with the elemental? The elementalist most commonly combines with the weaponsmith, although I'm not 100% sure if this would still be the case with 4th edition's broader enchanting rules, but the weaponsmith still makes sense to me. As stern pragmatists, the elementalist also works well with the wizard discipline. Personally, I think the archer worldview can fit in well with the elementalist as well. In the end, the only discipline that almost never works is the illusionist. The illusionist finds truth by hiding it. The elementalist strips away all guise and artifice. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on this elementalist discipline? Again, my apologies, this is my 5th run through of this today. If I sound tired or uninterested, it is not true. I actually loved making this one, so why it's so long, but it is what it is. I've got to get this done because I go out of country tomorrow. Now, pressing along here. In regard to the elementalist discipline, well, there's already a lot of information for a general overview given, so I really don't have much more to say. I mean, you get what you pay for, so to speak. The elementalist does its job and does it well. Sure, I have a small quibble with the name of one of the mantle spells, but generally this is a favorite discipline to have at the table. I think the only thing I caution is that some people go in with this fire burn, damage roar concept, and they become disappointed. The elementalist isn't blowing up warriors at Circle 1. That's not what the elementalist is about. Look at its range of talents and spells and you will find an amazingly diverse and capable magician. I actually prefer its healing talents and spells. So I'm going to leave it at that. Alright, please let me know what you think of this episode, the Elementalist discipline, and this entire series. What are your thoughts on the Earthdawn setting as a whole? Whether you are new to Earthdawn, a longtime fan, or even one of the team members who produced any of the versions of the Earthdawn role-playing game, I hope you have enjoyed and appreciated this Adepts and Disciplines video series. I could not have created this series without the passions guiding you, and you all putting in your hard work and your own passion into keeping Earthdawn alive. With that, please subscribe to the Legion Myth channel, ring that bell icon so you can be notified when new videos are uploaded, and share this video with your Earthdawn friends. Finally, I want to let you know about the Legion Myth weekly live stream every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/LegionMyth. See the description below for the link. Our hosts Garthon and Heathen Dog provide anime reviews, tabletop gaming fundamentals, comic book reviews, and other nerd topics that should interest you. Once per month, they also have a Twitch follower and Twitch subscriber giveaway. These giveaways include video game keys, Amazon gift cards, as well as both PDF and print versions of various tabletop RPGs. We may even give out more Earthdawn. You could be next! Remember, that's Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. If you can't catch them live, you can always watch their past segments on this Legion of Myth YouTube channel. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Alright, since this is the last video in this Disciplines and Adepts series, and I'm not sure when I will come back to make another Earthdawn series, well, I have plans. But there are some other things I want to tackle first. I would like to give some of my personal commentary on the 4th edition version of the game as a whole. Understand these opinions are mine, and I do not expect everyone to agree with them. Also, if I'm stuttering or stammering, it's because this is in bullet format. It's not a script like I normally go with. Without considerations of the previous editions of Earthdawn, when just considering the 4th edition game on its own merits, as if it was the only edition of the game out there, I really, really like about 90% of what the game offers. Within its own 4th edition framework, it works, and it works well. I would tell any novice or experienced player who is looking to branch out from Pathfinder or D&D to give a serious hard look to 4th edition Earthdawn. My only real mechanical complaint when talking about 4th edition on its own merits with no comparisons to the other systems or other editions is that the new success system, there we go, is clunky in combat. Please hold your thoughts on that a bit as I'll get more into the specifics in a bit. And now that I have a cloud over the sun, I turned off my light. You know, that's what happens here. This is going to be an unedited. This is going to be raw. I don't care. It's my raw opinion. It's going to be raw sunlight. Everything else about the 4th edition game makes sense for the mechanics and the game world presented. With that, as I've said, I have played Earthdawn since it was a pamphlet, since before the 1st edition book was even in stores. I also followed the Strands network very closely back in the day. Part of my gaming group were unfortunate official NDA playtesters for the 2nd edition version of the game, of which 4th edition, to me, is leaps and bounds better. I know a lot of times publishers and developers don't like to comment on old editions. That's fine. I'm a commenter. I'm going to. 4th edition is better than 2nd edition. One thing 2nd edition really, really, really got right, and I kind of wish 3rd and 4th would dwell on a little bit more, although it's not the system, it's the idea of talents versus skills. Melee weapon talent, I can pick up a frying pan, I can pick up a sword, I can pick whatever. It's a melee weapon, I can use it. It's magical. Skill, I have to pick, almost like a non-weapon proficiency from AD&D. I can use a short sword, I can use a flail, I can use... I thought that was probably the best thing to come out of 2nd edition. But, other than that, 4th edition is I'd say it's probably the best version of Earthdawn all told. So, believe me, I didn't make any friends in that 2nd edition playtest group. Especially the night I got drunk and posted about the taunt talent. Yeah, if you were part of that, if you remember that incident, that was me. And yeah, that was 20 years ago. So hopefully I've calmed down a little bit since then. I didn't do too much with the RedBrick or 3rd edition versions of the game other than read through it and play it once. Life just wasn't in a place for me to play RPGs often at that time, so. Anyway, my point is not to post a resume, but to say that I cannot help but to compare 4th edition to what I know and love from the previous editions. In that frame of reference, I give 4th edition an 80% grade, or a B-. Or as we say working for the government, it meets the 80% solution. So, you have to understand that for me, a highly opinionated judge and critic who is more prone to complaining than praising, who's almost never happy with change, that is actually a surprisingly good mark. I want to end this video and this entire series on a positive note. So I'm going to start with the things I do not like about 4th edition Earthdawn first. Redesign Thief. The addition of the social aspect does not fit. Can't stand it. No. The reason I say this, and this goes into a design philosophy, I'm not going to say that it's part of Josh Harrison's design philosophy or 3rd edition. I'm not going to put a specific name on who started this, but there seems to be a design philosophy as Earthdawn goes across the editions that they need to broaden the disciplines. No, they should be more niche. I know a lot of people complain, well, the thief is only good in dungeons, right? You want to be out in the wilderness, use a damn scout. That's the way it should be. Now, it doesn't mean the thief should be inept. What it means is that the thief's magic should be about picking pockets, disarming traps, and then whatever else the thief wants to do should be brought up in skills. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I think that Earthdawn as a whole, not blaming 4th edition, as a whole across the edition, has gone the wrong direction with discipline. And so, yeah, my next thing, homogenize disciplines. Disciplines and discipline talents should be niche. A more robust skill system should be used in place of intermixing the talents. I don't have an example of that because nobody's gone in a direction. We haven't play tested anything. I don't have big enough groups right now to do that. But I don't mind 1 or 2 talent options. I don't mind one air sailor being different from another air sailor a little bit. But when you can effectively build one discipline to look like another discipline, I think that's a bridge too far. And a lot of them, I really feel that can happen. And to be clear, talent options came up in 3rd edition, not in 4th, but I've disliked them from the second that I've seen them. I understand, I think I said this in a previous video, I understand why 4th edition kept them. I mean, you're going to build upon the most recent framework. You're not going to go all the way back to the initial framework, typically speaking, unless it was total garbage. But there are a lot of people who like 3rd edition. So it is a better reworking within the talent option construct. 4th edition is better than 3rd edition. I think 3rd edition put it out there just as a good start. 4th edition fixed it. So if you're going to use talent options, then yes, 4th edition is the better game to go with. Now, while most of the changes to the magic system were done and done well, I give that a high passing grade. I love the changes, generally speaking, with the magic system. There are a couple of instances that just don't sit well with me. One is purely philosophical, kind of like the homogenization of the disciplines, and the other is what I would say is the good idea fairy running amok. To best capture this, I'm going to use 2 quotes from Panda Gaming Grove. I think that Morgan is the guy who basically developed the spell system. If I'm wrong, I apologize. That's my understanding. So every spellcasting discipline from the player's guide needs a basic offensive spell with 0 threads at first circle, he says. This was a basic requirement for redevelopment. Like homogenized disciplines, this is an overall design philosophy from which I cannot disagree more. No, they do not need to cast damage spells every round. I don't understand where this came from. I know I used to see it on a lot of forums in the past. Nope, not going to say it. Somebody posted, oh, my Elementalist is no good because he can't. You're not using the Elementalist in the intent. If you're just throwing Earth Darts every round, I'm not going to have you in my group long anyway. That's boring. Do something with your class. Discipline. Just because someone can swing a sword every round does not mean that the same must be inherently true for magicians. And like I said, I remember the old forum posts where people complain about magician disciplines were gimped in combat. No. That the Elementalists couldn't do the damage of the warrior and so forth. I think it was around 2003 or 2006 when I was reading that. It was either just before or just after I was working in Japan. But I don't know where this lunacy arose, but I have played and GM'd this game since 1993, and I've never, ever had a magician complain in any of my games or campaigns. Well, other than illusionists, but that's for completely different reasons. That concept borders on the insanity of the same forums, at least I think it was the same forums, stating the troubadour feels effective in a fight. Tell that to Legion of Myth's Garthon, which Garthon is actually the name of his orc troubadour, who was in my campaign from 1997 to 2000. If you're trying to go toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano with a troubadour, you're playing it wrong. Switch to a swordmaster. These disciplines were never intended to be balanced. I actually read that a bunch of times on Strands. They're meant to be role-playing, and I am one of those people that stands firm with that. Balance is for a video game, not for a tabletop role-playing game. Now, homogenized disciplines from 3rd edition and the requirement for 0-thread damage spells in 4th edition, to me, are the worst Earthdawn concepts since de-patterning and astral clouding in 2nd edition. Whoever came up with a de-pattern, I just want to choke. That was, God. Now, the second quote is where I think the good idea fairy twinkled one too many times. Additionally, these spells should do something other than just damage. They should be interesting. No, they should not. At least not automatically. This slows down the game in a very uninteresting manner. These secondary effects should only come from the weaving of additional threads. In both of my 4th edition groups that I've had, one's been with my past experienced players, and the other with people who had never even heard of Earthdawn before. Both groups have agreed to the following bullet points as I have them here. The 4th edition Earthdawn success system, I know I'm kind of backtracking on this, but these are like the 3 tenets that we have right now. So, the new 4th edition Earthdawn success system is hands down better for anything out of combat, such as interaction tests, perception tests, etc. However, the old combat system, the chart with armor defeating hits, is both faster and more fun. And this is coming from the experienced players who you kind of expect to be curmudgeon, and the new players who are trying to do the math of +2 here, what's going on. They prefer the chart. It's quicker. Additionally, most of us have agreed, there's a couple outliers, that the secondary effects from spellcasting should only happen via extra threads. First of all, when fighting 5 NPCs per se, one's got -2 to physical armor, another's got -2 to both mystic and physical armor, a fourth has no modifiers, and another one's -2 to physical defense until the end of next round. All that causes greater confusion and slows down the game. Now, I suppose if they only lasted that round, kind of like a talent knack, or they are talent knacks now, but like aggressive attack or something like that, be a little bit different story, but maintaining that over from the alternate rounds is a pain in the ass. Returning to just damage, but allowing for armor defeating hits and the ability to weave extra threads into a spell has solved that issue in both groups. Now, I completely understand why you don't want 2 differing success systems in a single game. I get it. And clearly outside of combat, the new success system is just hands down better. I can't say it any other way. But in combat, the old system is faster for those of us familiar with it. Even the new players like it, like I said before. Besides, come on, who doesn't like armor defeating hits? Lastly, the literary style of the player's guide is good and proper. It is an excellent book for a great system within a beautiful fantasy universe. On the other hand, the literary changes made to the player's companion is unacceptable to me. I do not and will not purchase books written in that manner. Okay, that's enough of me complaining. Let's end this on a positive note that 4th edition Earthdawn deserves. Without going into every item, every change, every detail here, here's a basic list of the things I like about 4th edition. The new success system outside of combat. And it's like, again, interaction tests, perception tests. For every 5 over, more successes. It's easy. It makes good sense. Gives more room for GMs to expand. Like, what if you want, and I've done this, what if you want a sensing system where if they get 1 success, they get basic knowledge, 2 successes, a little bit more, and then you pile it up 10 times. If they are really good, they can just draw out that final last piece of information from somebody, which to me was better than just, average, good, excellent, extraordinary. I like it better. I think that this new system, good job on that one. I think it is better, again, outside of combat. I finally learned to accept and appreciate. This took a while. The D6 Karma. I've been a holdout on that one because I believe in racial stereotypes. I absolutely do. I have a whole video on that. You can look in the all. It isn't in the Earthdawn one, but if you look in the all TTRPG videos, you'll find it there. The former combat options that are now talent knacks, that one rubbed me the wrong way at first, but I actually appreciate that now. And just generally the use of pattern craft versus like read magic and so forth. It's just one of those changes I didn't like at first, but once you see it in action, you go, I like it. Those were good, necessary changes. Like I said, I like most of the magic changes. Just those two that I said above are the ones that, no. I like the skill system. Now, I'm not sure it's as robust as I would want, because I think there should be more skills, less talents. If they're going to go this route, but within the 4th edition construct, it's good. I just feel that there's always been this thought that the skill system was kind of an afterthought. I mean, look, 1st edition skills garbage. Like as much as I love 1st edition, no, that was bad. The other editions have improved upon it, and I do like the way 4th edition has done the skill system. But for some reason, people want to broaden themselves with talents and not skills. And I think this concept is just 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Talents and disciplines should be niche, not broad. But within the construct given, 4th edition skill system is good. With the exception of what I stated previously, I really like many of the changes to the magic system. Mystic defense versus spell defense. Again, that was another one of those things I'm like, why'd you change that? That's just where it's at. No. Especially, I noticed it with the new players. It makes sense. Mystic armor, mystic defense, social armor, social defense. I don't think there's social armor. I don't know why I started physical armor, physical. It just makes sense. So another one that I might not have liked day one, but that was a good one. Generally lowering the number of threads for many of the spells. I mean, what was it, like 6 threads for Razor Orb, if I remember correctly? I might be wrong about that, but yeah, some of those were way too high. So you're toning them down. Now, I still don't agree that they should be 0 threads, but toning them down was really good. The ability to weave extra threads into a spell as it's presented in the player's guide. We're not talking like in Arcane Mysteries of Barsave or what's the other one, a Manual of Mystic Secret or whatever. We're talking in the player's guide like, hey, when you're ready for it, you can just weave an extra thread, take an extra round or do multi-weave, whatever, and you can get additional effects. That it's in the player's guide. I love that. That's been very handy for our group. The general changes to illusions, summoning, and enchanting. I think I read a forum post somewhere that said that Josh wished he didn't have to deal with crafting. Well, I like it. I think if I remember that post well, they're talking about if you get magic items from dungeons that's better than what you can craft, why craft? And if you can craft items better than you can get out of dungeons, what's the point of going to dungeons? Well, see, I think the balance to that is you go to the dungeon to get the crafting material. Maybe you need the dragon's eye. I guess that's more of a D&D reference, but you need the dragon's eye or something. You have to get that from the dungeon, then you bring it back and craft it. That to me is the balance, but hey. But I like, going back on my bullet point here, the changes to the illusion, summoning, and enchanting systems as a whole, the way they're presented, awesome. Loved it. I hope for a more robust spell creation system. The 1st edition one it was a good idea, but it was prone to just some crazy variations that, to me, I didn't like the variations. But I hope 4th edition comes up with a spell creation system that's meaningful. I love the aspect and mantle spells, and I hope for more of those as well. Even the glyph spells. I always wish that I get it. It's probably one of those things that, okay, I'm now a warden. I deal with glyphs. I still wish the wizard had more glyph spells, but I love the aspect and mantles. I love that utilization of the spirits. I like it. I mean, that's very good addition. I already mentioned this, but pattern craft, which I initially did not like, but for the life of me, I can't remember why. The fixing, or should I say the rebalancing of talent knacks. I thought a lot of the talent knacks in early editions were way overpowered. Like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to let you use that in the game because that's crazy powerful. I haven't used every one of them, but I think for the most part, they've been toned down and, or balanced. I think that's maybe a better word. They're more reasonable in the construct of the game. And I like that. Creature masks. Now, as an experienced game master, creature masks to me are nothing new, and I'm like, yeah, and? But again, I have two new players really, that are trying to run their own Earthdawn games. And the creature mask system has really helped them out, and they've talked to me about it. I'm like, well, yeah, I do that all the time with things like D&D or whatever other games that I'm making up. But the way it's presented in there, if you add this mask, it now does this, it adds that, and so forth. I think it is an awesome way of saying, okay, new GMs or even GMs who've been doing this for a while, hey, you need to quickly create a monster, but just don't want it to be cookie cutter. Add this mask, add these two masks, whatever, boom, done. So I really like that. Expanding on questers now. I have to, for full disclosure here, I have not fully read through the quester book yet. I have only kind of paged through it, glanced at it, looked at a couple of things. I get the general gist of it, but I haven't read it. But just the fact that they did this and they've got quester abilities and so forth in there that have been defined. I like that. And I know that's another book, but I do like that. And I really hope that light bearers can make a return to the game, because actually we had like 3 or 4 people in my longest running campaign that were light bearers. Finally, and this one's an important one to me, with everything I said, if you've watched this far, especially got through the negative part, I have to remark about how nice Josh, Andy, FASA Games have been to me. Josh has answered every question I've posed him. Now, I haven't posed a lot, especially recently, but I did a few up front. He answered quickly, professionally, friendly, and I appreciate that. Legion of Myth is an insignificantly tiny channel, so their positivity towards us and the channel, to me, and this series is sincerely appreciated. It really is. So, to finish up here, thank you to Lou Prosperi and his first edition development team for creating Earthdawn, whose legend cannot be surpassed. Thank you to Mike Williams and his team. I know I give second edition a lot of crap, but without Living Room Games, there may not have been a RedBrick 3rd edition, 4th edition of Earthdawn. Thank you to James D. Flowers and Karsten Dram, along with their teams, for 3rd edition Earthdawn. And one more time here, thank you to the new FASA Games, Josh Harrison, and everyone involved with 4th edition Earthdawn. I am just a player and a game master. The hard work and Upandle's passion to create this edition came from you guys. I don't always agree with what you did, but I'm glad you did it. And I always wish for the success of honest people and a great game. Finally, thank you to you, the viewers, commenters, past, present, and future, and anyone who supports the Earthdawn franchise. Legion of Myth appreciates all of its viewers and supporters, and I really hope you enjoyed this series, because ultimately, it was for you that this series was created. I've been doing this in my games for years. And with that, I will close this out by saying, may your legend always grow.